Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So, first up, I did not expect to be here today. I wasn't really planning on recording today, but then of course, some major spoilers came out this morning, and a ton of them, and some that are absolutely massive, and some that, well, kind of break the laws of magic. And yeah, this one is definitely one of those, because I never actually thought we'd see a card like this. I didn't think a card like this could exist, and well, here we go. Let's jump into it. So this is River Song. Now, my apologies. I'm not a fan of Doctor Who, so I don't know the entire background on this character. But my goodness, is this a crazy ability. And from what I've read so far, people are like, yeah, that pretty much matches up with what this character would be doing in Magic. So, and a reminder, Doctor Who, I believe, is actually going to be released like October 13th. Check me in the comments below if I'm wrong on that. There's so many gosh, products coming out lately. Wizards, comes to spoilers, have you seen the musical Hamilton? Take a break. Okay, sorry, that was absolutely terrible, but yeah, take some notes. Anyways, River Song, a 2/2 human Time Lord rogue for 1 blue red. Meet reverse, you draw cards from the bottom of your library rather than the top. What? That is absolutely crazy. First up, okay, that is just crazy. There's some really cool things that you can do with that. This is something I, again, never expected to actually exist. Being able to draw cards to the bottom of your library is just so strange. And then also, it's going to be a little annoying. I will let you know that it's going to be a little annoying having to draw cards from the bottom of your library and basically picking your deck up every time, sliding cards out from underneath there and trying to get the right number of cards. It's going to get a little sloppy, so just keep that in mind. Secondly, spoilers, whenever an opponent scries, surveils, or searches their library, put a +1 counter on River Song, then River Song deals damage to that player equal to its power. Okay, so this is a really interesting effect because, well, first up, if your opponents love scrying or surveilling, they're going to be in for a bad time. That being said, more likely you're going to be able to get them whenever they're searching their library. And yeah, searching the library can be for a variety of reasons. I mean, they crack a fetch land. That's going to be, yep, counter, and then ping. Yeah, they tutor anything out. Essentially, that's also going to be counter ping. There's plenty of opportunities where players are going to be searching their library. Sometimes you can actually kind of force that as well. You can, not exactly force the scry. We'll go through here in a little bit. That being said, yeah, and keep in mind that this is not just, it's not just the number of counters on it, it's its total power. So, yeah, that first time it's going to be lightning bolt worth of damage to an opponent. A lightning bolt. I think I said lightning bolt. Anyways, lightning bolt worth of damage to an opponent's face. After that, it's going to build and build and build. And, of course, outside of, well, yeah, just like, you know, ways to get more counters on this by making your opponent scry and search and whatnot. If you just have straight up pump effects on this, like a simple piece of equipment that can do that, yeah, this can hit for a ton of damage. So make sure you're keeping that in mind. Also, you are in red, so you've got plenty of ways to double up power, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, you can take opponents out with that in a very surprising and quite fun way. That being said, yeah, I think the main draw of this commander is just that first part where you're like, I've always wanted to just play off the bottom of my library instead of the top. And again, there's some really, really weird things that you can do with this one, and actually some very broken things that you can do as well that we're going to be going through. And yeah, the possibilities of this commander are just so crazy that I'm sure a lot of players out there are going to be very excited when this one comes out. Regardless, if you are interested in this commander, I'm going to be talking about some cards in this episode. Make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. Like my quick takes, I'm going to be going through the budget buys, cards that are less than $1, cards within my budget that I'm going to be considering for this one. And then the pricier picks, cards that are outside of my budget, but might within yours that you might want to consider as well. I will say that some of these strategies with this commander can be quite gross, so make sure they're okay with your play group and those you'll GS first. Regardless, let's jump into it, starting off with the budget buys, and there are a ton of great ones to consider. I mean, a very simple one to start off with is just Castle Vantress, okay? This is a great card for, you know, a deck that only has a couple of colors in it, and that you can guarantee that you're going to have an island in play. So yeah, like a 2-color, 1-color deck, essentially, like this one, 2-color deck like this one. Castle Vantress, a land, enters the battlefield, tap unless you control an island. A lot of your mana base is going to be islands, so it's probably going to enter the battlefield tap for you. Taps for a blue, pay 2 blue, blue, tap scry 2. So again, scrying is kind of like getting dead cards off the top of your library, typically, right? This kind of works in reverse, again, with this commander, where it's like, those cards on the top of your library, you weren't going to draw anytime soon. Basically, probably ever the entire game, right? Because you have your commander in play. You're not drawing from the top, you're drawing from the bottom, and getting to the top of your library would take a long, long time. So you're like, okay, let's look at the top of our library. Do I like that to draw eventually? So then you just put that on the bottom of your library. If you don't want to draw, you just keep it on top. It's kind of, again, the reverse way of thinking about it. So yeah, being able to scry, again, is kind of like setting yourself up with cards that you eventually want to actually draw versus getting rid of cards and also setting yourself up. It's kind of counterintuitive and weird to think about. Moving on, though, yes, scry can definitely be something that you can definitely consider. Mirror Custodian. This one's interesting. A 2/3 mirror for 3. ETB scry 2, then each opponent may scry 1. So, again, keep in mind, this one is a may, unfortunately. Now, usually that'd be like a good thing because the opponent doesn't decide to scry. There's very few opportunities where an opponent wouldn't want to scry. This is one of them, again, because this commander, unfortunately, doesn't let you choose which opponent you're doing that damage to. It's whoever is actually doing the scrying. So, essentially, yeah, if that opponent decides, yeah, I'd like to look at one card, they're going to be taking at least a lightning bolt worth, I said bolt again, goodness gracious, lightning bolt worth of damage. There we go, bolt worth, there we go. Worth of damage to the face, perhaps even more, so yeah, they might not scry. That being said, of course, you scrying too can be very beneficial to you, and yeah, there are other ways to kind of force that, that damage to come. We'll talk about it here in a bit. Moving on, Nether Ace Puzzle Ward. Again, like a repeatable scry effect like this one can be great as well. Beginning of your upkeep, roll a d4. Scry X is the result. Whenever you roll a dice high times result, draw a card. Cool. So basically, again, you could, roll up to a d4, scry 4, essentially get the right things on the bottom of your library to draw into, and then draw into that as well. So yeah, make sure you're considering scrying effects just to kind of set yourself up. That being said, there are more powerful things that you can really do with this, but yeah, I mean, it's just interesting things to consider, again, for a commander that works in a completely different way than basically any other commander. Moving on, Spine Rock Knoll. These kinds of cards that have Hideaway can also come in handy as well. Enters battlefield, tap. When it does, look at the top 4 cards of your library, exile one face down, and put the rest in the bottom of your library. I will mention that Wizards is no fun, and when they changed the Hideaway rule to like Hideaway 4 or 5 or whatever it was, I think that was a new Capenna, they changed it. Instead of it being any order, it's a random order. Wizards, why? It's quicker. I don't care. It's less fun. And this is kind of why. Again, like with, gosh, what's that one? Grenzo, the Dungeon Warden or whatever. It was perfect. Those Hideaway cards are perfect for it, and then they're not because it's like random now. This one also, it's like, okay, you take one card, you put underneath this. You can pretty easily cast it most of the time. Again, pay a red, tap, exile. You can play the exile card without paying its mana cost. Opponents dealt 7 more damage this turn. Regardless, the rest of those cards are going to put on the bottom of your library. So it's kind of like setting yourself up off the top of your library against the bottom one. But again, it's going to be in a random order, so keep that in mind. Again, the Hideaway cards are interesting with this one. Just keep all that in mind. Moving on. Argent the Shifting Flame. This is a very strange combination with this brand new commander. And this commander is one that, well, Eddie had an absolutely disgusting deck around this commander. It's just absurd. Flying, whenever you cast a spell, put cards from your hand on the bottom of your library in any order, then draw that many cards. Kind of like wheel again and again and again and again. Just keep wheeling so you can take advantage of, cards like, Thought Reflection, doubling up your draw. Take advantage of like Psychosis Crawler, drain your opponents. So if you've got those kinds of effects in combination with something like this, and there's other effects like this, I think Mind Moil is another one essentially, you can do some really disgusting things because, again, with this commander, I mean, I guess with Argent, typically, right, you wouldn't have access to those cards that you just put on the bottom of your library. You would be getting to them a long time from now. But with this commander in combination with River, hey, yeah, now this is basically like, okay, cool, you cast a spell. Take your hand, put it on the bottom of your library, draw that exact same hand. So this is just, you keep drawing into the same cards again and again and again and again. So it's less random, obviously, because, like, Argent just normally is completely random. But now it's like, no, you just get to draw cards and get those back. Again, if you don't have like a Psychosis Crawler or ways to take advantage of that, yeah, you're not really doing anything. You're kind of just spinning your wheels. But yeah, if you do have ways to take advantage of card draw, again, Thought Reflection, Fairy's Age Insight, Psychosis Crawler, Nadir Kraken, all those kinds of cards, I mean, Locust God, then yeah, you can really take advantage of something like this. Again, instead of it being random on what you're getting back and just hoping that you hit something good, you know you're going to hit your hand again. So keep that in mind. Moving on, Dig Through Time. Interesting one as well. With the top 7 cards of your library, put 2 in your hand, the rest of them on your library in any order. Again, this one does allow you to set that order, so it's like, hey, yeah, sure, draw 2. Also set up the next cards that you're actually going to be drawing into. Instead of ditching those cards, you are setting yourself up with those cards as well. So yeah, keep in mind this kind of, any kind of cards that, obviously scry, also other ones that do put things on the bottom of your library. Definitely keep those in mind because, yeah, you can really set yourself up for the next cards you're going to be drawing into this commander. Next up, this is where things get really spicy. Conjurer's Bauble. Tap, sacrifice it, put up to 1 target card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library, draw a card. This is just a 1-mana cantrip, essentially, which is fantastic. And normally, again, it's like, hey, yeah, get something out of your graveyard on the bottom of your library. It's in your library again. You're not going to draw into it anytime soon, but yeah, if you got a way to shuffle, got a way to tutor, you can get it back. Instead, though, with this commando, this is, oh no, you're basically setting up the top of your library. You're setting up the next card that you are drawing with this commando. You're like, okay, cool. Yeah, I am going to pay 1 mana, draw a card, and get this card basically back when I draw another card out of my graveyard. That is incredible. That is fantastic. That is like, yeah, has the potential to do some pretty gross things. Next up, Tel'Zawad Silas. This one's very interesting, and actually I utilized it. I think it was in my Deep Fellow Skin. Whatever this, the giant manta ray thing is. Anyways, an artifact for 1, tap a target permanent you own on the bottom of your library. This is interesting because, again, let's say someone's going to try to deal with one of your things. You're like, I don't want you to, actually. I don't want you to be able to deal with that. I'm willing to say, like, you know what? It's not going to go back to my hand, but this is like a free, not bounce, but it's a free way to, again, what would have been get it on top of your library, get on bottom of your library so you can draw back into it. So it's a good way to kind of protect things. Also, you can really use and abuse ETBs with this. And there's even more gross things I'm sure that you could do with it. Speaking of gross, Rito Sentinel. This is where things get really scary. A defender for 3/3, enters battlefield, target player mills 3 cards, pay 3, put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of someone's library. Now, first of all, this can be a good way to deny your opponents if they've got, you know, reanimation and that kind of stuff as well. Be like, oh yeah, you're gonna reanimate that? Nope, it's going on the bottom of your library. Sorry about that. More importantly with this commander though, this is like, hey, you want that awesome card you just utilized back? Great. Pay 3 mana, and basically, again, it's going to be the next card that you draw. Yeah, there's some really disgusting things that you can do with this, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. I think the price of your picks is more so really where this kind of thing just gets absolutely gross, and you really have to kind of talk to your play group ahead of time about this kind of a strategy, because you might lose some friends over it, but if you're willing to do that, yeah, don't talk to them. Just don't talk to your friends ever again. Next up, though, Junk Troller. There's a lot, I mean, I wouldn't say a lot. There's a decent amount of ways, you know, to target, put things from your graveyard on the bottom of your library, and we're getting more and more of them lately, so make sure you're taking advantage of them. A 0/6 defender golem for 4 mana, tap, put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. So again, this one, like Rito Sentinel, is technically repeatable, I guess, if you can untap it. This one is free, essentially. I mean, you can use it once a turn, but getting something on the bottom of your library, again, can just be game ending with this commander, because, again, if you can keep doing that every single turn for the card that you need, I mean, just think about being like, okay, I cast, like, Clonic Rift. Cool, I bounced all your things. And then, yeah, let's just get that back. So I'm going to put it on the bottom of my library, which I'm going to draw back into. So the next time I want to just wipe all your things out, I'll do it again. And then again. And then again. Yeah, that can get quite annoying, but that's not even the most annoying thing that you can do with it. Moving on, Lantern of Insight. Yeah, this one is pretty gross, especially with this kind of a commander, because it says each player plays with the top card of the library revealed. Tap, sacrifice it, target player shuffles their library. So first up, keep that second one in mind, right? If you see something gross on top of someone's library, yeah, you can be like, panic, shuffle that, go away. More likely, though, you're just going to keep this in play for a long, long, long time, because, hey, this, again, is just great information for you. This is just, like, not perfect information because you don't have your opponent's hands, but if you have telepathy in play, you also know your opponent's hands are. This is just information on, hey, what your opponents are going to be drawing into, and technically, I believe, and correct me below in the comments if I'm wrong on this, but, like, if someone casts, like, a draw 7 spell, you get to see all those cards. In fact, everyone gets to see those cards because they're going to be on top, essentially at one time. Regardless, this is saying, hey, this is what everyone else is going to be drawing into. The top of my library, sure, you can look at it. It doesn't matter, though. It's basically like showing the bottom card of your library for other decks. It's like, yeah, sure, you can know what it is. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be drawing into that card. So you essentially have information on your opponents, where your opponents don't have any information on you except for, like, what you're not going to be drawing into. So if there's, like, an island on the bottom, on the top of your library, it's like, yeah, who cares? I'm not drawing that anytime soon. So this, again, just says, you know what? Let's get information on my opponents. I know kind of what their strategies are. I know what they're doing. If you get this down really early, it can be incredibly effective for you. And again, there is that panic button if you need it. Moving on. Blackblade Forge. Like I mentioned earlier, hey, your commander's trigger doesn't care about the number of counters on it. Some, you know, those kind of, you know, commanders are like, hey, based on number of counters. This one cares about power. It gets more counters on it, but also you can add to that power in other ways, like Blackblade Forge. Very simple, very easy. Equip Ledger Creature 3. Equip creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control. Sure, there you go, like a +7/+7. Cool, your commander's like all of a sudden a 9/9. Opponent, you know, surveils, scries, searches their library for anything. Oh, that's 10 damage. Thank you. Because, yeah, you get the counter. 10 damage. Gross. Keep in mind other equipment as well. Not budget friendly, but that one that gives +2/+2 an infect, grafted exoskeleton. Yeah, you can definitely do some pretty crazy things with that and just take your opponents out in absolutely no time. So yeah, any kind of pump effects can be great. Again, I talked about doubling power effects as well. There's some like good instant speed ones. They're like, hey, yeah, double target creature's power. Cool. Have fun dealing like 20 damage when someone searches their library. Speaking of which, Field of Ruin. Tap for a colorless. Pay to tap, sacrifice, destroy target non-basic land opponent controls. Chances are very likely that one of your opponents, again in a 3 or 4 player game like Commander, 3 opponents, one of them's gonna have a basic land. Each player searches the library for a basic land card, puts on the battlefield, then shuffles. This one does not say may. This does not say, hey, everyone may search the library. That is not there. Everyone has to search the library. That means that, yeah, I mean, sure, you're technically ramping your opponents. I mean, you're ramping, I guess, 2 of your opponents. One of your opponents and you are both kind of coming out the exact same spot, the same number of lands. That being said, yeah, get rid of that non-basic land Gaia's Cradle. That's gross. Goodbye. Or other great, non-basic lands, essentially. And then, hey, you just force all 3 of your opponents to search their libraries, and because they did that, that's damage to each one of them. So again, have that Black Player Forged on counter, counter, counter. Ping, ping, ping. That can be really good, really gross. And also, keep in mind, and the ones that I actually didn't bring up, and I probably should have, Fire Emancipation, cards that triple, cards that double up the damage that your commander is going to be doing. That can be incredibly gross as well. Finally, Noble Benefactor, other ways to kind of, force, I guess not force that search, but yeah, basically, Noble Benefactor, when it's put in the grave from play, each player may search their library for a card, any card put in their hand, each player search the library after it shuffles. This is going to be tough for your opponents to actually deny doing. It's going to be, a lot of damage probably, but hey, if everyone else is tutoring and they're not tutoring, they're going to be at a disadvantage. So this obviously is slightly risky, but yeah, keep in mind, some pretty gross things can happen with this. And of course, you go get the best card that you need for the situation that you're in. Your opponent's going to do that too, so yeah, definitely be careful with this one. But again, if you've got your commander, suited up and with a ton of power, again, like 15 power or something like that, your opponents might think twice before tutoring for 15 damage. So yeah, there you go. Now that we talked about all the budget buys, let's move on to the pricier picks. Again, cards that are unfortunately outside of my budget might be within yours. And one that immediately came to mind and that basically goes infinite with, you need like a haste enabler though, Time Stream Navigator. Now this already has other combos in Commander. That being said, this is a pretty spicy one with this one. A 1/1 Human Pirate Wizard for 1 and a blue Ascend. You're gonna have Ascend. It's Commander. Okay, you're gonna get 10 permanents in play. Pay 2 blue, blue, tap, put Time Stream Navigator at the bottom of someone's library, take an extra of this one. Only if you have the City's Blessing, you're gonna have that. Again, normally this is like, hey, yeah, put it somewhere that you're not gonna get access to it again. For at least for a long time. But with this commander, it's like, oh no, you get to draw right back into that next turn. So again, if you've got enough mana, again, to actually put this in play, and then actually activate that, and I guess I should say have a haste enabler. So let's just say you have Lightning Greaves in play, okay? Just for an example, you got Lightning Greaves in play, okay? Cool, you can equip for 0, give it haste. If you've got 6 mana, essentially, cool, you've got infinite extra turns because you just keep getting this to the bottom of your library, keep doing it again, and again, and again, and of course, there are plenty of ways to win from there. I guess technically, even if you don't have any ways to win from there, you're kind of like stalemating the game because like you're just going to be drawing the exact same thing again and again and again, but you probably have ways to win. Regardless, very gross, very, very disgusting. And again, this is the kind of thing you need to ask your playgroup about ahead of time, okay? Okay, promise me. And then also ask them about Time Warp. Ask them about like any of these extra turn spells, especially ones that do not exile. This is a gross card. 5 mana, 3 blue, blue. Target player takes an extra turn for this one. No exiling this. Wizards learn their mistakes from the past with comes to extra turn spells and basically exiling them, except that one time that they didn't and they had to shuffle in your library. That was a bad idea, Wizards. Anyways, being able to give yourself an extra turn, amazing. Now it's in your graveyard. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, sure, I'll utilize Junk Triller to put on the bottom of my library. Oh, but wait, my commander just gives me access to the bottom of my library. I'll draw into it. I'll do it again. And then again, and then again. So yeah, Junk Troller essentially is a way to do that. Rito Sentinel, other ways to just get it repeatedly back on the bottom of our library, which again is basically the top of our library. Some disgusting things can be had with this commander. Moving on to various puzzle box. This one again, it's kind of like Arjun-ish. Beginning of each player's draw step, the player puts the cards in their hand at the bottom of their library in any order, then draws that many cards. This kind of is like you're just playing, a game of chance with your opponents. Your opponents are like, they don't know, they can't plan for the future, essentially. They are just rolling the dice every single turn, hoping they get some good cards off the top of their library. They might just end up with nothing. They might have just gotten rid of all their best cards. Whereas you're just drawing back in the same things again and again and again, because again, you draw from the bottom of your library. So this essentially is like, again, like I'm not playing a game of chance. You all are. And yeah, things are going to be pretty random for you, but I can plan ahead. I can do my own thing because this really does not affect me at all. Moving on. Wizards reprint Trace's Sanctum. What are you doing? Okay. In sorcery spells, you cast, cost 1 to cast. Whenever you cast a sorcery spell, scry 1. Again, scry can be very good with this commander. And yeah, cost reduction for instant sorceries can always be a good thing. And this, just right outside of my budget. It's just like right there. And Wizards just won't reprint it. Wizards. I might be the only person out there that's like, I need this under $1, but I really would like it to be under $1. So Wizards, please reprint it. Anyways, thank you. Finally, yeah, I mean, Shelldock Isle. Again, be careful with the hideaway cards because, again, Wizards change the way that they work. That being said, sure, I mean, still being able to get something off the top and underneath this can be nice. Getting things to buy in your library can be nice. Maybe, again, if you've got those ways to look at the top of your library, like Land of Insight, you can utilize cards like this to actually, you know, get other cards back in the bottom of your library. Keep that in mind, but again, be careful. And I don't know why Shelldock Isle is $2.37. This is going to be really hard to actually activate. Pay a blue tap. You may play the Exile card without paying its mana cost. If a library has 20 or fewer cards in it, that's probably not going to happen in many games, but you never know. So, yeah, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on this one. This is just a very crazy commander. Again, one that kind of like just breaks an inherent rule of Magic where it's like, hey, how does Magic work? Like, right when you're starting off with a player, like, you know, and you're like just teaching them how to play the game, you're like, okay, yeah. Then you draw a card, and then of course they would go to the top, and then with this commander play, they'd be like, you're like, oh, no, that's not how this works. You know, you draw from the bottom. They'd be like, what? It's the weirdest thing ever. And again, it's just actually, I don't know if players are going to realize just how annoying it might be to actually lift their library up every single time, take a card off the bottom, and I mean, if you're drawing like 7 cards at a time, just trying to like get that right is just gonna be, you're gonna have to do some practice probably. So there's some pretty weird things that can go on. Again, keep in mind things that, you know, force opponents to, again, there's not many things to force opponents to scry or surveil, but like force opponents to actually search libraries, or again, them just actually doing that throughout the game, like Evolving Wilds, you know, any of those kind of fetch lands, you know, any kind of tutor they actually utilize, you know, any land ramp spell essentially as well, you're going to be punishing them, which is just quite fun. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things about this one. Comment below with your thoughts on it. Again, if you are interested in this commander, make sure you check out that card listing in the description below, and make sure you're staying tuned for more exciting quick takes and spoilers coming up. And as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.